Good, right. It's recording.
Shall I mute people?
Yeah,
Oh,
let me make you host and then make host. There we go. Make host. You are now the host.
cool. So, shall I mute you all?
Yours.
Perfect. So, let's get started. So we're starting on the mat and we're going to start with our foam roller. So we're going to do a quick sort of 15-20 minute foam roll, and then we're going to go into a stretching program after that. So going on what everyone's been saying, it seems to be like sort of upper, lower back, as well as lower body that everyone wants to do. So that's what today's session is focused on. So we're going to start with our foam roller. Pop it to one side and you're going to start on all fours. And then with the opposite hand, you're putting your palm onto the foam roller and coming under and then back up. So you're pushing the foam roller away and then returning back to all fours. So we're just rotating through our mid back and our lower back. Start off nice and gentle and then try and get a little bit further each time. Just opening up our back if we've been sat down for a while today. Okay, so we're going to do 4 more on this side. The last 2. Good, and then swap the foam roller to the opposite side. And same again on this side. So I'll come around the other side so you can see. So again, on all fours, and then we're pushing the hand away. So you can gently bend the weight-bearing hand, bend the arm to allow you to come a little bit further through. But you just want to make sure the hips are staying straight and just rotate through the back. If it helps, you can try and breathe out as you move. So breathing out to push the hand through, breathing in to come back up. Okay, and last 4. Stretching as far as you can. And last one. Good. So we're going to bring the foam roller and go for our quads, get the dreaded one done first. So popping the foam roller on the floor. I'm going to bring the opposite knee next to the foam roller and then drop the thigh onto the roller. Just put the other leg wherever's comfortable. So I just fold out next to the roller and then you're just bringing yourself forward and back. So this is staying through the mid portion of our quad. So just gently ease into it, putting as much pressure as you feel comfortable. And then you can start to rotate. So if you're feeling like the outside of your quad is a bit tighter, you can look in the opposite direction. So you're putting a little bit more weight through the outside. Or if you feel like the inside, you're twisting the leg the opposite way. So again, that's all personal preference on wherever feels sore. If you feel like you're on a tight spot and it's really starting to ache, you can ease off if it's too much, but try and hold for 8 seconds on that tight spot before you continue to roll. Again, just letting the pressure roll all the way through the muscle equally. And if you find a tight spot, we can stretch this further by bringing our heel up towards our palm and straightening out, and just going through a few movements, bending that leg. Again, this is quite sore if you've got quads anything like mine right now. Just take it easy. So you may want to ease off the pressure if you are bending the leg. Or if you don't want to, just carry on rolling up and down. So once you've done a few of these, just swap to a different point. So it's a slightly different area, and then the same movement, slow and controlled bends. Good. And I'm going to swap to the other side. So if you feel like one side is tighter than the other, feel free to spend a little bit more time on that leg. But on this one, again, we're just starting, pulling our weight forward and back on the roller. Twisting the foot, so we're getting to different areas of our quad muscle. Thought we'll get this one done first, because if you're anything like me, this is the worst bit of foam rolling you can do. Again, if you find a tight spot, just hover for 5 to 8 seconds before you carry on. This is called trigger point release, so it's really good at finding those what are called knots or trigger points in the muscle. Good, and again, if you find a tight spot, bend in the knee, so the heels towards the bum, straighten out. Try and do sort of 3 or 4 on that point, and then move on. Finding another tighter spot, and doing the same thing. Good, and last roll up and down. A lot of women tend to use the outside of their quads more, so you may want to sort of twist the hips a little bit so we're more focused on the outside quad muscle. Good. And then we're moving the foam roller to the hips. So we're going to lie on our side, but there's a little muscle around this area. So if you find your hip bone there and your thigh bone, it's between those 2 points. So around sort of this triangle on the front of your hip. So we're kind of lying, so we're looking forward, but we're right on that sort of triangle that I just pointed out. And you're just little tiny movements up and down with this one. So I find it quite helpful to use this leg as a supporting leg. Rolling up and down. So if anyone is a runner here and they find they get sore IT bands, so the band that runs up the side of your leg, this is the one you want to focus on. Is if you release this little muscle, and we also release our IT band. Again, if you find a tight spot, hold, and you can just lift the leg off the mat and come back down. And then again, try and find that tighter spot and go again. Won't spend too long on this one. If you don't find the foam rollers getting in enough, but it is something you struggle with, then after training sessions, try with a hockey ball or a tennis ball, because it's better at getting in the small parts of the hip joint. Good, and we're coming on to the other side. So again, that small triangle on the front of the hip. Using the other leg to support and just putting yourself forward and back. A lot smaller, this movement, compared to the quad foam rolling. And again, as you're rolling, you can twist, sort of so you're facing the floor a little bit more, and then twist so you're facing forward a little bit more. And hold on that tight spot. So if you find an area of tightness, just hold for 5 to 8 seconds. Again, you can lift the leg off of the floor, adds in a bit of an extra stretch. And then continue rolling, find another tight spot and repeat. Good. So this time we're going to sit on our foam roller. So we're rolling through our glutes. So we've been doing a lot of squats in circuit training. This is the one. So hands further back to balance. At the minute, just both of the main bum cheek muscles are on the roller. Now, if we're focusing on our left side, shift all the way to the left. And we're going to bend the foot over. So we're doing this, we're putting all the weight for our left bum cheek, and then we're rolling forward and back. Again, if you don't want to do the movement with the leg, you can just stay straight and just shift the weight to the left-hand side. Again, if you find that tight spot, just hold and count slowly to 5 in your head before you carry on. And don't be afraid to come a little bit further up. So we get a lot of tightness, especially if we're sat down, at the very top of our glute muscles. So it's almost where our glutes meet our lower back, so around this area here. So just roll mainly for that bulk of muscle, but come a little bit further up than you normally think. Just release off our lower back slightly. Good, and swap sides. So shifting all the way onto the right cheek. Crossing over that leg if you want a further stretch. And again, if you find that tight spot, hover for 5 to 8 seconds. If you do feel any numbness coming down the leg, just move. There's a lot of sort of sciatic nerves coming through our glutes, so just make sure you don't hover on one. Good, so moving all the way through the area of that muscle, from sitting up a little bit more to coming all the way to the top of our glutes where we meet our lower back. Good, and hover for one more time on a tight spot. Good, and relax that leg down. We're moving the foam roller to our hamstrings. So I find it easier to start at the knee. And so start just above the back of the knee. We don't want to be rolling behind the knee. You can either go one-legged, we're in this position, rolling forward and back, twisting the leg in and twisting the leg out. Or if you want to go hardcore, you can pop one leg, cross the other over, and that adds a lot more body weight to the roll. Good. Good. Just adjust the roller if you need to. And again, if you really keep going over that one spot that's causing a bit of discomfort, just hold. And then continue rolling. So almost hunting for those little spots that are causing your muscle aches. Good. Pop the foam roller in sort of the mid part of the hamstring. And we're going to try and get right into the bottom of the bum cheek. So we're getting higher up into our hamstring muscles now. So if you do a lot of squatting or cycling, it's going to be a little bit tender through there. Again, don't forget to twist the foot in and out to get to different muscles in our hamstring. Last time, hover on a tight spot. Good. And swap legs. So whichever one you're doing, whether it's single leg or double leg, try and do the same variation on this side. So start just above the back of the knee, legs crossed over or single leg, and we are rolling forward and back. Big movements to start. Just gently loosening the pressure through our hamstrings. Good. Just readjust the foam roller if you need to. It's not quite hitting the right places. And again, find a tight spot, hover 5 to 8 seconds, and repeat. So every time you change the direction your foot is facing, you may find a new little trigger point holding all that achiness in. Okay, moving the foam rollers halfway up your hamstring, and then we're getting right into the glute muscles. So coming all the way up to the top of the hamstring. Good, last few seconds. Last one, holding on tight spot. Good, and release. Moving down to our calves. So again, probably actually my least favorite. I take this one way worse over the quads. So we're propping ourselves up. Now you could do single leg by resting this one down, or you can cross over the feet if you want a bit of a harder workout. So we're rolling down the mid belly of the calf muscle, and then we're twisting the foot inwards to get that inside calf. So we've got two main heads to our calf muscle, our inside and our outside. And then twisting the foot outwards. And if you're anything like me, I have little trigger points all the way through these. So just slowly hunting for those little points that maybe cause you a little bit more discomfort, and then hold for 5 to 8 seconds. Hopefully the pain should sort of diffuse through those seconds. Good, so try and find one more point. Breathe through it. And then the last few rolls back and forward. Good, swapping legs. So we're doing a last little bit of foam rolling. So we'll get the worst bit done first, and then we can have a nice, simple stretching session after. So again, I forgot to mention this on the other leg. If you bring your toe up towards your shin, your calf is on a stretch. So it's slightly harder to foam roll in this position, or you can find that tight spot, and then we can do some foot movements, so pointing the toe and then bringing the toes towards the shin. So again, we're searching for those few little points. Hold for 5 seconds, adding in our foot movement if you would like. And carry on for one more. Good. I didn't add this one into the session, but if anyone struggles with any tightness through the underneath of the sole of the foot, then the best way to do that is with a ball. So if you've got a hockey ball or anything like that, you can stand up and put weight through the foot for that one. But it's not very common, so I didn't add it into today's session. but have a go if it is something you struggle with. So we're going to start our main stretching sessions. We will need the foam roller for one exercise, so just pop it nearby. And we're starting on all fours, so our hips below, so knees below our hips. And we're going into a happy cat, angry cat. So we're dropping the belly button towards the floor, pushing the bum out and looking forward with the shoulder blades sort of coming together. And then we're pushing our shoulder blades down, so pushing them out away from us. We're arching our back up and tucking our hips under. And then we're going to gently go through this exercise, trying to make the movements as large as you can. This one's a super good exercise if you're working from home at the minute and it's not quite the ideal situation. For anything like me, you get lazy and you work from the sofa and end up with a bit of an achy back. Good, so pushing all the way up to the ceiling, looking towards your knees. And then dropping the tummy button towards the mat, looking forward. I'm going to go through 2 more movements, really trying to make them as big as you can. Good. And our next one from here, we are going to use our foam roller. Now, anyone that struggles with office or that stiffness, those rolled shoulders, this is a great one. So you're going to sit back onto your heels. We're popping our hands, our elbows on the foam roller and just resting your hands wherever you want. So I sort of just bring the hands together. And then you're rolling the foam roller forward and looking down towards the mat. So we're almost trying to rock ourselves into a bit of extension. So we're pushing those shoulders down and getting a nice stretch through our lat muscles, as well as getting a bit more extension through that mid back, stopping us from rolling forward. So again, if you want a bigger stretch, then come up into this position. And then you're coming down there. So it's just a bit more of a mobilization stretch if your bum is away from your heels. Opening up the chest. And try and keep the breathing nice and relaxed. So some people tend to hold their breath when they're stretching. You want to stay nice and calm. So tend to breathe out during the movement. And in to come back up. So 2 more of these. Try and take a few of these away with you if you are working from home. And just refer back to this video if you are feeling stiff during the middle of the day. So take a few minutes of a lunch break just to go through a few of these. Our next one, we're lying on our side. So it's quite nice to use your foam roller as a head pillow. So popping your head on the foam roller. Legs are bent up and the hands are together. As we breathe out, we'll bring that hand up and behind us. So the hips are staying facing forward, but we're rotating through the back. So coming up and over, and then coming back for the hands to join up like a book. So opening up. And back. So we're only holding for a second or so when we're back as far as we can go. Okay, 2 more on this side. And last one. Good. Once you've done those, sitting ourselves up into a mermaid stretch. So with the legs almost forming like a bit of a mermaid tail, I'm guessing that's why it's named that way. So one leg bent in front, one leg bent behind. Can use your foam roller if you want to walk your hand out. and then we're bringing the other over. So we're stretching through our lats and our lower back muscles. Trying to keep both bum cheeks on the floor. So if we come this way, we're not actually stretching. We're just shifting our weight. And then coming onto the other side. So wandering that hand across the mat and one hand over. Good. Swap the feet to the other side. So the opposite leg is in front. And we're doing the same thing. So walking one hand out. Trying to keep both bum cheeks on the mat or the floor. Swap into the other side. Good. Before we bring our foam rollers, the head pillow to the other side, and we're going to do our arm openings on this side. So same again, hands together, legs bent up as we breathe out, bringing one hand above and behind. Just pushing the hips forward. So we're really just emphasizing our back rotation. Okay, 3 more. Last 2, really try and deep breath in before you move and deep breath out as we move. And the last one. Good. Sit myself up. And similar to we just did, but this is a bit of a hip mobility exercise. So if you struggle to get to the bottom of the squat, this is the one to practice. So it's called 90-90. So one foot is in front of us, 90 degrees. So you can see that right angle in front of you. The other one is behind at 90. The hard bit is to try and keep your body central. So if you look at yourself in the camera, you don't want to be leaning one way. From here, we're just wandering our hands forward, shifting all our weight towards the front knee. Again, with this one, just sitting in this position might be enough for you, but if you can, try and bring your weight forward. It's quite a hard one on the hips, this. And then we're going to walk our hands to sort of 10 o'clock. So as we move this way, we're sort of opening the back hip up a little bit more. So you're just adjusting where we put the weight within this range. And then coming to around 2 o'clock. This is a really big glute stretch, this one. Good, and sitting yourself up. And one more time, walking the hands forward as far as you can. Good. Swapping over the legs. So then the one that was behind is now in front at 90 degrees. Just take a minute just to have a look at both of your legs and make sure they are at 90. Try, and again, you might find one side more difficult. So I find this side is a little bit harder. So you can see I'm kind of side bending a little bit more. Try and sit yourself up nice and straight before we walk the hands forward. So if you are someone that struggles to get to the bottom of a squat or finds that they lack a bit of hip movement, this is a really good one to try and do. And sometimes sitting on a pillow can help to start with. Moving our hands to 10 o'clock. Then moving our hands to 2 o'clock. Again, the next one I added in for a bit of fun. So I don't know if anyone's done it before, but we're going to go into a frog pose. So if you have a wider stance during your squat, you'll want a wider stance during this. And then you're going to come down and try and balance in a frog pose. So we're using our elbows to push our knees out and sit in like a frog. If you try and resist the stretch, you're more likely to fall over. So try and balance as much as you can. If you can't, start with one leg. Start with one knee down and start one-legged. Pushing the knee out so you get a bit of an adductor stretch. And then you can swap to the other side if you can't do both at the same time. But if you can, I'm really rubbish at this one. Try and just hold for a few seconds. Get a really good one to open up the hips and stretch for our adductors. Good, just gently put more weight through one foot, rocking side to side. Try not to fall over. So we're just pushing weight from one side to the other. Then stay one-legged, that's absolutely fine. If you are doing this one-legged, you're doing it more often, you may just want to double the time that you do it for. And now we're sat on our bum in a straddle position. This is called a saw stretch. We're starting again, if you want to use your foam roller, you can walk the foam roller forward as far as you feel comfortable. You should feel this as well as your lower back. So if you want a little bit more back movement, really try and reach the hands forward. And we're feeling it down our hamstrings too. Again, if it's quite nice to breathe in as you come back up and breathe out to roll the foam roller forward. Good, rolling in that foam roller, bringing it towards your left leg. And then we are again breathing out, rolling down as far as you can go. Good, and you're gonna roll back in. This time it may just be enough of a calf stretch by bringing your toe towards your shin, but you may want a little helping hand. So if you can't reach your toe, that is fine. You can use a rolled up towel to just hook around your foot, and you're just gonna pull in towards you for that calf stretch. But ideally, if you can reach your foot, then that is a bit better stretch. So we put a little bit more force to our hand. Good. Walking the foam roller round by our right leg, stretching as far as you can. Good, breathing in. And one more time, breathe out. Try and get a little bit further this time. Good, and breathe back in. Good, popping the foam roller to one side, and same again, we're adding in a calf stretch. So we're either using our hands to bring our toe in towards our shin, or a rolled up towel. The only thing with this one is if you find you're getting any pins and needles, then just ease off the stretch. So it can be a bit of a neural stretch as well, this one. Good, and release. So the next few, we are lying on our back. So starting with your feet together, lead on our back, hands out to the side. We're dropping the knees towards one side, making sure the feet are glued together, and try and look in the opposite direction to get a bigger stretch. So let gravity just bring your knees down towards the floor. Good, bring them back up towards the ceiling. And same on the other side, so rolling both knees over, looking in the opposite direction. Good. And there's two ways to adapt to the next one. So we can either continue in this position and straighten one leg to have a bigger stretch, or you can bring the legs up and then you're coming to the side. So either way, it's more advanced. This one is harder on the back. So if you want to ease into it, come into the roll first and then straighten one leg. Coming back up, and same on the other side. So either dropping the knees and straightening one leg, or coming up and roll. Trying to keep both shoulders flat on the mat. Good, and come back to lying on our back. So we're going to need our towel, or if you've got a band or anything like that for the next one. So we're going into our hamstring stretch. So we want the band to be hooked around our foot, lying onto our backs. The towel works as well. You just may need to bend your knee to start with. So lifting the leg up as far as you feel comfortable. So if you feel a stretch here, then that's your starting position. So find that stretch down the back of your hamstring. Hold in the band, just keep that foot there, and just relax the leg. So we're just going to hold for a few seconds in this original stretch. And then we're going to turn this into a bit of active stretching. So we're pushing our foot into our band, so pushing the foot down towards the other one for around 4 seconds, around 20% of our strength. So not very strong. We're just activating those muscles. And then relax. As you relax, try and get the leg a little bit further. And again, 20%, 4 seconds, pushing the heel downwards. And relax. Try and get a bit further. And one last time, 20% of our effort, off we go. 4, 3, 2, 1. And see how far we can get. And just rest in this position. Good, before we swap legs. So hooking the band over the opposite foot. And the same again, so coming back, resting wherever we feel the hamstring is on a stretch. So I feel around there. And relaxing into the stretch first before we do anything else. Try and make the leg nice and heavy. Good, and then 20% of our strength pushing into the band. 4, 3, 2, 1. Release and pull in further. Always relax in between points. We want our legs to get used to this stretch first before we add our push into the band or the towel. So off again, pushing 20%, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Pulling that leg in further. And one last time. 4, 3, 2, 1. And bring in as far as you can. Good, relax the leg down, drop the band to the side. So this time we're just going to bring one knee in towards our chest. So keeping the leg straight to start with, pulling one knee in. It's a nice way to open up one side of our back and stretch through our glute muscles. And keep the breathing nice and relaxed. And then we're going to use the opposite hand to leg to pull the knee across. So as we pull the knee across, we get more of a stretch for our glute muscles. If anyone's getting any pinching in the hip, just don't bring the knee in so far. So you may want to stop here and then bring it across. Good, last few seconds. Release that leg and coming up with the other. So starting off with the knee straight, just drawing in as far as you can go. Good, and then when you're ready, opposite hand, bringing the knee across the body to stretch through our glute muscles. Good, last few seconds. And release that leg. We're sitting ourselves up and we're bringing our left foot to the outside of our right knee, bringing one hand back to support us and twisting round. So we're pushing the knee in with our elbow to stretch for our glutes, and then we're also getting a bit of a twist for our lower back as well. Again, try and relax as much as you can. I know you're kind of tying yourself up like a pretzel. Good. If the twist of the lower back is a little bit too much, then you can just hug the knee in towards the chest in this position. I'm going to swap legs. Swap into the other side, popping one hand back and twisting ourselves around. Good, hugging the knee one more time. And coming onto our knees. Stretching through the hips and the quads this time. So bringing one foot forward, so we're in a lunge stretch. Before you lean forward, we're going to adjust our pelvic position. So we're going to almost tuck our tailbone underneath. So we're twisting our pelvis, tucking tailbone underneath, and then leaning forward. So you get a bigger stretch through the back leg. If you're not feeling a lot, you can grip the back foot. I find this one way too much of a stretch, so I'm going to release, but you can bring in the back foot if you want to advance. Bring in the hands next to the front foot, tuck in the toe underneath, and bring in the knee off of the mat, and then dropping our hips to the floor. Good, swapping over legs. So bringing the opposite foot forward. Again, twisting the pelvis to tucking the tailbone underneath and leaning forward. Just gradually get used to stretch through the front of our hip. Then popping our hands onto the floor, tucking the foot underneath and bringing that knee off the mat. And then letting our hips fall down towards the floor. Good. We're bringing the other foot back and pushing our shoulders through into downward dog and bringing our heels towards the floor. Good, try and relax. We're still pushing our shoulders through and our heels down. Good. Drop the hips and then we're coming into it one more time. Walk the hands in, bending the knees if you need to, and let the arms hang towards the mat. So we're in a nice hamstring stretch. Bending the knees if you need to. Walking the hands all the way up the front of the thighs, tucking the hips underneath, rolling up the lower and upper back with a nice shoulder roll at the top. We're going to finish off again with that mid, back and shoulder movements. So bringing one hand down your side as far as you can before we drop both hands towards the mat and then roll ourselves all the way back up and shoulder roll at the top before we go on to the other side. And you're going to go for 2 on each side, so 1 more left. Try and make the movement as big as you can. Last one. Good, and 1 more stretch to finish. Just stretching your hands as high up as you can, coming onto your tiptoes, and then dropping back down. And 1 more time. Good, that is the session. I think it's been recorded, so if anyone needs it in the future or needs a few of those office-based exercises, then just nick them off the record.
Yes, it's been recorded.
Perfect.
In fact, I'm going to stop. Can I stop recording now? Let's go for... can you end the... Actually, I'm going to put the host back to me, actually.
Yeah.
And then I can do the recording then. So, no, that's chat. No. Where are we? Reclaim host. Okay, good. Right, I can start recording now.
All good.